Morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with Casey. Very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. Today, we're going to close out 2024, and we're going to talk about how to survive 25. And when I say survive 25, there's going to be a lot of real estate agents that are going to be going back and finding other jobs when this year is over. There's going to be a lot of sellers that were stuck in the mud. There's going to be a lot of money lost. A lot of money. Just to look back on 2024 real quick, builders in Vienna, get your arms around this number. Builders in Vienna lost almost $60 million last year. So in 2024, the Vienna builders build beautiful homes, lost over $60 million. We're going to look at how that happened and are the luxury homes next? Are the homes over $1 million, are they next? And how we're going to prevent that. So a look back at 2024 is pretty simple. We started off with a 40-year low in inventory in 2023. So we came out of the gates hard. We had no inventory. 75% of the homes were going under contract. Bids were going on. Prices were getting bid up. Prices were jumping. And that is all because we found out one thing. In 2024, inventory is king. Forget about interest rates. Forget about demand. Forget about the government moving out of town. Inventory is everything. When the inventory goes up, prices go down. You're going to see some charts that prove that pretty clearly on this. So we have to keep an eye on that. We're going to talk about, what to look for in 2025 to make sure that we stay in the jet stream. And first of all, let's go to that. So when I'm talking, the most important thing for sellers is to understand there's only one of two places you're going to go, right? You're going to go in the jet stream or you're going to go into the mud. Now, the jet stream means that when you put your house on the market, everybody beats a path to your door. Everybody's coming in. They're making contracts. They're bidding it up. You have multiple contracts. You are in 100% control. It's a good world to be in. The jet stream is a fun, right, Ferris? It's a fun place to be. It's a fun place for the sellers, fun place for the realtors, and not so fun for the buyers, unless they get the deal, right? But we don't have to worry about a lot of the stuff that they worry about in the mud. We can rent back for 60 days. We can set the tone for how this is going to go. We don't have to be worried about contingencies for home inspections or appraisals. We have backup contracts. Something goes on with contract number one for whatever reason. And sometimes something weird will happen and you lose contract number one. Maybe they lost their job. But you've got contract number two, contract number three. It never goes back on the market. Nobody ever knows what happened. You head on to the settlement, and that is the jet stream. Luckily, we watch a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today extremely careful. So, because we have to keep all of our properties, we have to keep all of our sellers into the jet stream. So we're going to talk about how you do that today, how all the sellers should stay in the jet stream. Now, let's say we come out and we overprice the house and it doesn't sell. Okay. Now we got a problem. Now the buyers are in control. And there's a group of buyers out there that are what I call bottom feeders. They're trying to get a deal, cut a deal, get as low as they can. Maybe they don't have good financing. Maybe they don't have good credit. They're just really tough to work with. And so if you sit on the market, there's anxiety, nobody's coming. It's just a horrible place. Then when you do get a contract, you get one. And that buyer is in control. And that's no fun either. And there's a home inspection. And that's no fun. So the one thing that every seller and realtor should commit to is we're not going into the mud. We've got to stay in the jet stream. So I'm not going to go over all the things that keep you there. I'm just going to talk about the indicators that you need to watch and need to educate the sellers. And these indicators will push you right into the jet stream in 2025. If you're not listening and you don't do it, or you don't have the professionalism to get it pulled off, you're going in the mud. Now, in 2025, 40 to 60% of the homes are going into the mud. I'll give you some examples. First of all, if you go in the mud, the reason why it's so important for me to keep everybody in the jet stream is if it sells in the first week, the average is 127% of the assessment. And let's say in this case, we were $64,000 on average over list price. That means there was bidding wars going on. So that's if it sells in the first week. If it sells between 30 and 60 days, The average is about 117% of assessment. So what does that tell you? They lost 10% of the value of the home. So you are selling at 10% less than the Jetstream sellers are. If you keep going and your head is in the sand and you let your listing continue on, after 60 days, it's 109% of assessment, and that is 18 to 20% less than the Jetstream sellers. Now, I said this. In 2024, you're either going to make a little or you're going to make a lot, right? You're going to make a little or you're going to make a lot, but you're pretty much going to sell your house. Not so in 2025. You're either going to make it or you're not. This is a pass-fail. This is not an A, B, C, D, F. This is not the grading system. This is a pass-fail. 40% of the homes. In some markets, 50% of the homes. In McLean, 60% of the homes are going to withdraw unsold. New homes, 82%. 82% of the new homes withdrew unsold. $185 million last year of new homes in Vienna withdrew unsold. They don't need to hear this. They don't need to hear this, but they did lose $60 million. So this is very important stuff. So the key here is we need to focus on selling in that first 7 days where we're up at 127% and we get all the multiple contracts. Now, how does it look today? And I will tell you this, I exhaustingly follow the market. And here's exactly what I'm following. What's the success rate today? Like if you looked at Fairfax County, here's how you can figure it out. In the last 37 days, go days on market from, or list date, 7 days to 37. So that's 30 days on the market with at least being on for 7 days. How many of those homes that were put on the market went under contract in the first 7 days? How many? They've all had an opportunity to go under contract in 7 days. So in Fairfax, in Vienna, 11%. 11% went under contract. So what does that tell you? That 90% of the homes that are going on the market right now are headed to the mud? In May of this year, in May, that was 75%. 75% were in the Jetstream. Today, 11. Something's going on. Oh, be quiet. Something's going on. And we need to know what it is. We need to be, regardless of what's happening everywhere else, we're at 98%, so I really don't care. But you've got to look at everyone else, because I'll tell you why, and I tell sellers all the time, I'm going to tell you a price on this house, I'm going to prove it, and we're going to get there, and this is exactly what we need to do. Somebody else is going to come in and say a price up here. You should be up here. 9 out of 10 realtors are mispricing houses. That's the guy or the girl. That's the agent. That is a trap. In 2025, sellers need to avoid the trap. They are going to come in and they're going to say, it should be up here. You could have gotten away with that in 2024. Maybe could have gotten away with it in 2024. You will not get away with that in 2025. So there is going to be, when I say bloodshed, I think people losing a lot of money is bloodshed. And to think that 90% of the homes right now are not going under contract, to me, is saying that 90% are going into the mud. And I've been in the mud, and I don't like the mud, and it's a bad place to be. So first indicator that we look at all the time, and I cram down Ferris and cram down my team's throat, is what is the success rate in your area. You can see all these other towns, right? And I've got one for all the towns that we basically cover. That's the first sign. Here's the second sign. The withdrawals. Now, when I say withdrawals, if you withdraw a house, that means you've been on the market for an average of 254 days. Our withdrawals are in our area. And not only is it on for a long period of time, but obviously the price has gone down, but now you have a stigma of being a withdrawn property. They've seen, so let me give you a quick example in our market. House was on for 1.7, then they dropped it to 1.6, then they dropped it to 1.5. By the time they got to 1.5, nobody was even looking, nobody really cared. Guess what? You can't even go back on at 1.5. You know why? Because you just proved the market won't buy it for 1.5 million. You've just told the buyers it's not worth 1.5 million. The house is worth 1.6, But because you went 1.7, 1.6, you're down to 1.5, it's really worth 1.6. Now, how much money is that seller going to lose, right? 100, 150,000. If you put it on a 1.6, you might have got 1.65, 1.675. See? So mistakes are being made, and they're being made, a lot of them. Now, I told Donnie that, there's going to be 40% withdrawals really, in 2025. We're already at 36%. In Fairfax County, we're already at 36%. It's 2024. So here are the things that we need to really kind of keep an eye on. Inventory is the king. And I watch every 2 weeks, we do inventory reports, so I can go into a listing appointment and tell the seller, we are here. So let's look at that. This is a year-to-date. So in Vienna, they were up in the 700s, 800s, that's where they would be. They went to 437. So what does that mean? There's no inventory. Prices are going to go up. We are in control. We can be a little more aggressive. Now, in 2024, they came up a little bit, not a ton, not a ton, only 10%, right? It's still 30% lower than the average, 30% lower than the 10-year average. Now, in my opinion, that's going to grow, and that's going to grow to a much bigger number, okay? How big could it be? Got back to 800? Not right away, but could it get back there? Absolutely, that's where it's headed. So the inventory is coming, and what does that mean for prices? When inventory goes up, prices go down. That's just math. That's just what happens. This year proved it better than ever, and you're going to see that in a minute. This is the 30 days. So you need to not only know where we are year to date, are we trending up? Are we trending down? Is there going to be more inventory? Is there going to be less inventory? So you look at year to date and you look at 30-year date, and what's happened in the past 30 days, it's almost doubled. It's almost doubled. My seller's got to know that. You've got to know that the inventory is up. Just means our antennas are up. We just need to know. Where are they? Are they going under contract? Are they not going under contract? That's our competition, right? So you really need to keep up to date on what the inventory is. This inventory is different than the inventory in Haymarket, and it's different than the inventory in Aldi, and it's different than Arlington. So you've got to know wherever your market is, and we cover about 8. You've got to know what is the inventory in my market. 10. I think we covered 10, right? So you've got to know where the inventory is in your market before you can talk to your sellers. So here's Fairfax County. I can't really read that number. It looks like 358 is the number. It was down to 307. So it was in the high 4s. I'd call it high 4s is their average. They're at 300. They're from almost 500 to 300. Now they're back to 358. It's up, nowhere close to where it's going to be. Why is that good for the realtors? I know I have a lot of realtors that listen to this show. It's good for the realtors because money in motion, action, transactions is what people live on. I mean, we need more transactions. But it's going to make it more challenging in 2025. The more inventory you have, the more competitors you're going to have, the more you really need to do what I'm about to talk about in the next few minutes. Look at the year to date in Fairfax County, 6,300 versus 10,000. I mean, come on, that's 40% off, right? So if you think 2024, the second half was tough, that a lot of people are in the mud and a lot of people were withdrawing, we're not even close. We haven't even started the inventory surge. I'm not pushing panic buttons. I'm just saying this is something that's concerning that you've got to keep an eye on. There's Loudoun County, right? And you can see Loudoun County is up to about, I can't see that, 2,300, let's say, and they're usually at about 4,000. So they're all down. They're coming back. Look at your 30 days, Ferris. It's popping right back up there. So you're getting a lot of inventory coming in. All right? So that's Loudoun County. So that's the inventory part of it. Now, here's the most important part. And I'm gonna freeze on this frame for a little bit. This chart is going to every listing appointment I go on if you live in, this is a Vienna one. And we've got these for all over. So let's take a look at it. and I know a lot of you are on podcasts and you can't see what I'm looking at, but what I'm showing is a chart of 2,500 square foot homes versus 3,500 square foot homes versus 4,500 square foot homes in Vienna. What did they sell for in 2020, 21, 22, 23? What did they sell for in the first half of 2024? And where are they today? Let me tell you why this is so critically important, because I'm about to tell that seller, or I'm about to tell someone that your house, their point of reference, a seller's point of reference is their neighborhood. The Millers sold for 1.6. I should be able to get 1.65, unless the market corrected, and now it's at 1.535. Now here's what's going to happen. Here's where the bloodshed happens. If they list for 1.55, they're going to sell. They're going to be in the jet stream. We might have to move to 1.5, but they'll be in the jet stream. They'll get their multiple contracts. But somebody's going to walk in that door and go, I think it's 1.65. See the yellow line? So where it was in the first half was $1.6 million. That's what it was worth. It's worth today $1.535. That's what they remember. The Millers sold for 1.6. I should be at least 1.6, 1.65. I got a better basement than they have, right? So they are going to want to list at 1.65. If they do that, they are going directly into the mud, unless we are smart enough to show them that the market has corrected. The market is moving. And the reason why this chart is so important, that you can't look to a property that we're trying to list and say, it was here, it's now here. Unless you show them that everybody, small houses, big houses, new houses, old houses, all houses, K-Market, Aldi, this is systemic. The key word is systemic. It's not just you, it's everybody. And if we don't do it right, we're going in the mud like 38 to 40% of the people out there. So it's critical. It's critical for our success that you understand that chart. And again, for the podcast people, it's showing that the chart started, let's take a 3,500 square foot home in Vienna. It started at 1.132. That's what it was worth in 2020. It's currently worth 1.535. It's gone up let's call it $400,000 in 4 years. If it goes back a little bit, it goes back a little bit. We can't get greedy. Pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. We can't get greedy. The inventory is up. We are artificially high. The stat is we should have appreciated 24% based on the inflation rate. Homes go with the inflation rate. We should be 24% above. We're not. We're at 42% above where we were in 2020. 40%, 42%. We're 60. Aldi's at 60. Right? So we're kind of overpriced. We can't get greedy. We got to be smart. We have to know where the market is. But you cannot say it's just your house. You must prove that it is systemic. I've got the same chart for new homes. You wouldn't believe it. New homes went down 10%. $2.3 million homes are selling for $2 million. Builders won't believe it. That's why 82% of the homes are getting withdrawn on new homes. They just won't believe it. They've got more of a problem than a seller has. A seller is not got carry cost. They're not carrying that sucker with empty for 254 days and then getting withdrawn. Builders do. So it's tough. It's tough. I like working with sellers. I'll do as many builders. This is Aldi. This is not just Aldi. This is Willowsford. So if we look at Willowsford, this is tough. Ferris got you got your work cut out for you. Here is the values of properties in Willowsford. And again, for those of you on the podcast, the blue line is the 40, and you kind of split Willowsford into small lots and big lots. Some are, 30, 40, 50,000 square foot lots. Others are 12, right? So we got two entirely different markets. So these are the homes that are, these are large lots. This is 4,500 square foot homes. That's what the blue is. The yellow is 3,500 square foot homes. Now look at how popular the 4,500 square foot homes on the big lots were. They went from $1 million to $1,970,000. And look at the smaller lots. The smaller homes. Not really big as popular, but look at how close they've all become. See how they're moving back together again? They weren't that far apart back in 2020, and they're moving closer to where they meet. Okay, so people have to understand that markets are different. You know, here's Johnny G over here in Haymarket, and now I'm showing Haymarkets, 2,500 square foot homes, 3,500 square foot homes, and 4,500 square foot homes. They're comparing them. You can see they're not falling because they really never went up that hard, right? They never had that monster rush, so they're not falling back. They're stable. So what Johnny's challenge is to make sure that, hey, they're not going like this. They're just flat. So it's easy. It's going to be easier for Johnny to convince the seller that a 4,500 square foot house is worth 1.3, 1.34, as opposed to Ferris, who's going, I know they were 1.7, 1.97, but now the latest sales are all in the 1.7s. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard job. Not going to be easy. But we will have more inventory. So I guess the reason for those charts is when Ferris goes in, he's got to be able to show this is everybody. This is not just us. This is a home in Oakton. I just went to their house the other day. I know it was 175. I got it. It's worth 165 right now. That's where we are right now. Right? Now, if you look at the orange line, the blue line is showing that it went up to 1.725. It's come back down to 165. The orange line is the value line. That's the line that if this home appreciated, and this goes with every listing we do, if the home appreciates at the inflation rate, that's where it should be. See how close it's getting back to the value line? So, you know, eventually they all are going to pull back to the value line or close to the value line. But that's where it is. Some may stay, you know, above it for a while, but eventually they're going to kind of move back to the value line because that's not affected by the inflation, or it's not affected by the inventory. So inventory is pushing prices up, or inventory will be bringing prices back down. The key to this year is that prices have come back down, and nobody's going to acknowledge it. You know why? They want the listing. I really want this listing. I really need this listing. I only have 4 last year. I need the listing. I think this home, I told the seller, I said, somebody's going to walk in behind me from Keller Williams and go, this house is 175. It's a trap. That's a trap. Because I got proof that it's worth 165. So when you put it on at 175, you are going into the mud and you will withdraw in 6 months. Can you afford to lose $100,000? No. My job, our job, is to make sure that sellers understand what was, what is. Everybody's like, well, what do you think is going to happen in the future? Couldn't tell you. No idea. Got no idea. The Fed, we're gonna lower rates 5 times in 2024. They got to 1 or 2, and now they're like, well, I don't think we can. I thought you guys said you were going to drop it 5 times in 2024. So forget about the predictions. It doesn't matter. The future doesn't. It only matters what is. We have to deal in today's reality. If inventory doesn't go up, prices are going to stay up. If inventory goes way up, prices are going to go down. I don't know which one's going to happen. Elon Musk is talking about shipping everybody out to Montana. I don't know what's going to happen. That guy's pretty serious. I mean, they're serious about cutting government jobs. They're serious about moving things, and contractors are a little nervous, and everybody's nervous, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it's going to have that much effect, but what the hell do I know? I watch what's going on today. Is inventory going up? Yes. I'm the first to know. We're the first to know. I'm the guy sitting in the crow's nest of the Titanic looking for icebergs every day. Being in the business for 40 some odd years is a blessing and a curse. The curse is, Mr. Norton's been in real estate for how many years? 40. We've seen it, haven't we? We've seen this movie, we know how it ends. We know there's going to be movement. We're just not sure when, but we're watching. So I'm in the crow's nest, and my team thinks I'm a lunatic because I'm constantly looking at inventory and prices and, obsessive about looking for the iceberg. And I'm yelling iceberg. I'm yelling iceberg. And the iceberg hit in July of this year. That's why everybody went foreclosure. That's why everybody went withdrawal. That's why prices went down. The iceberg hit in July, August of this year. Inventory went like this. Price went like that. Everybody else stayed up here and withdrew. There's a lot of withdrawals. A lot of people lost money, right? Luckily, we were on it immediately. We're sitting in the crow's nest, so we're talking about it all the time. We talk about it every Tuesday and Thursday morning. These guys are sick and tired of hearing me talk about it. So how do we survive in 2025? How do we make sure that our sellers know exactly where they need to price it? First, you need to make sure they understand the jet set. I'm sure Samson Properties has this jet stream mud, whatever you call that, image. I'm sure they have it somewhere. Sellers have got to know there's two places you're going to go. Most everyone was in the jet stream last year until July and August. Then most of the people fell into the mud. 2025, if we're not smart, we're going to be in the mud. We need to stay in the jet stream. That's number one. Number two, you need to know where your inventory is. Is your inventory up? Is it down? Do we have a lot? What is the, if you look down in the lower left-hand corner, we have what's called a market update. And that can show you, I'm going to put a house on for 1.65. Well, between 155 and 175, what does that look like? In this case, 2 homes were active, 4 homes withdrew. The average days on market was 120. Not exactly a healthy market. Got to be a little smarter. And again, the actives and the ones that withdrew, those are the people that might have fallen into the trap of the agent walking in going, I think it's 175. You're in the trap. So our job as professionals is to make sure we clearly articulate the inventory is up, the prices are down, not just for us, but for everybody. It's a systemic thing unless we're in Haymarket. This is where your price is today compared to the value line. And this is what the market conditions look like. Should we not be able to articulate that to the clients? Should the sellers not get that? Should we fail to educate? They're going in the mud. We can't have that. 25 is a dangerous year. It is, and when I say survive 25, I'm not talking about, realtors. Realtors are going to have plenty of listings. I'm sure they'll do fine, but a lot of them are going to waste their time, energy, and money. I'm talking to the sellers. The sellers need to go out on top. We're still well above the value line, well above the value line. If it goes back down 5 or 6%, it goes back down 5 or 6%, but that's where the buyer pool is. So, I'm not going to get into, I've talked enough this year about how you prepare houses, how you do predictive analysis, how you make sure you're on the buyer pool, how you make sure you negotiate that. I've already talked about all of that. I'm talking about how we survive this year. You need to start with the basics of getting the right price. I had an interesting conversation yesterday with a seller, and she's like, no way are we painting this house. No way. No way. When we were done, we're painting the damn house. I mean, you say whatever you want, but you can't put a house on the market that looks like this. And with not that it's bad, but it's not current colors. It's just older, dated colors. You can't do it. So how do we get from not going to do it to we're definitely going to do it? We do it by making people realize that if you had $15,000 and you went to Las Vegas, and you could bet $15,000 on a game, whatever the game is, and if you lose, you get back $50,000. I bet 15. If I lose, I get 50 grand back. But if I win, I get about 100 to 125 back. Do we make that bet? Yeah, I make that bet. I make that bet all day long. Yeah, we're going to paint the house. Worst case, $7,000 in paint is going to return. We see it every day. 40,000, 50,000. You're not painting the house. Isidro's painting the house. You're not painting the house. Jimmy's painting the house. All we're going to do is get the beneficiary. And what the realtors should be prepared for is, we run into a lot of divorces. We run into a lot of death. Sometimes the wife or husband, they're not going to pay for it because they're fighting over who gets all that. We're not going to do it. Bring in our own contractors. You do it. We'll get paid at settlement. Have your own contractors come in. Don't worry about it. We represent the home. We represent, the property. And we're going to get the most money we possibly can, so we're going to fix it up and we're going to go. And that's just the way 2025 is going to go. All the rest of that stuff, the predictive analysis, still critical. Preparing the home, still critical. Have to do it. Why? There's going to be more competition. But I will tell you this, I fear not any competition. As long as we know where the buyer pool is and we get on it, our homes are going to sell. I have no problem whatsoever. Just like this year in 2024, we had this massive lawsuit. That's all anybody could talk about. We're sitting with a mastermind of agents that do $20, $40, $50 million a year, and all anybody could talk about was the lawsuit and how it's going to affect commissions. Well, I give a shit. People got sued because they were charging 6%. I think that's overcharging anyways. Screw it, I don't care. Inconsequential. The whole thing was inconsequential. We charge what we charge, we're worth what we're worth. It is what it is. Don't even want to talk about it. I want to talk, and I don't want to talk about advertising and promotion and all the rest of that stuff. I want to focus on the real danger is the market has corrected and people don't know it. They kind of think it, but you got to prove it. It doesn't matter what we think. It only matters what we can prove. So in doing stuff like this, you can prove it. Okay? So that's a wrap up for 2024. It was a roller coaster of a year. It was a lot of fun before July, and there was a lot of work after July, but we got through it. But it is clearly an indicator that there's an iceberg, and we can't hit that iceberg. We got to move. We got to be ready, and we got to be ready to survive 2025. My name is Casey Samson. You've been listening to the final edition of Coffee with Casey for 2024. It's been a great year. Next year is going to be interesting. So we need to be smart. We need to be thoughtful. We need to have the data before we make any decisions on what's going on. You can see me any Thursday at 10:30 on Coffee with Casey. It was very nice seeing you this year. Everybody have a Merry Christmas. Have a Happy New Year. Bye now.